Now look, I'm not claiming to be the smartest man in the world, nothing like that. But did this man just dry snitch on himself? I'm a little confused. It says, family of Epstein survivor. Shocking to hear Trump say Virginia Giuffre was stolen. Release the files. I'm gonna keep saying it, keep talking about it. Just want to know what they gonna do. Because they do or they don't, it's very telling. We ain't gonna waste no more time. Let's jump right into it.
I want to bring in NBC News White House correspondent Monica.
Sorry, just a disclaimer. Certain words that may be used in this, I'm going to have to trim out. All right, y'all should know this. Just because it gets really sketchy here, trying to react to news that comes out, there's a lot of trigger words. All right, so yeah, just letting y'all know.
Alba, along with Eli Stokel's Politico White House and Foreign Affairs correspondent, and Barbara McQuaid, former U.S. attorney and MSNBC legal analyst. Monica, this letter from Virginia Giuffre's family is quite powerful. They are reacting directly to President Trump's latest remarks about their sister and Epstein and his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell.
Exactly, Anna. And they are saying that it was really shocking to hear those comments coming from the president of the United States directly about what happened decades ago, and really implying that perhaps the president knew more than certainly we knew about what was happening in terms of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell hiring away young women from Mar-a-Lago to ultimately then go and work for them. And in this statement, the family of Virginia Giuffre is specifically really taking aim at the U.S. government.
Wait, what were they at Mar-a-Lago doing? I don't know too much about Mar-a-Lago. I'm just saying, like, how old were they when they were working there? Like, you don't have to be of age to work there? Like, what was their job title?
For having ongoing conversations with Ghislaine Maxwell, somebody who they identify in this statement as a monster who deserves to rot in prison for the rest of her life. She put not just our sister Virginia through, but many other survivors who may number in the thousands. So specifically in this statement, Anna, they are saying that what they hope to see is that there is no clemency or any kind of a pardon extended to Ghislaine Maxwell by the president. They say that she must remain in prison and that anything less would go down in history as being one of the highest betrayals and crimes. And what's notable here is that the White House is responding to this, Anna. The press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, saying that this was the president responding directly to a question about Virginia Giuffre, that it wasn't him who brought it up, that it was a response to that question on Air Force One. And as for a senior administration official also tells NBC News that at this time, the president isn't considering any leniency or clemency, and that he's not thinking about that right now, even though he has maintained he would have the power to do that if he wanted to. Anna.
Barbara, the family wants some answers here. They write, it was shocking to hear President Trump invoke our sister and say that he was aware that Virginia had been stolen from Mar-a-Lago. It makes us ask if he was aware of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's criminal actions, especially given his statement 2 years later that his good friend Jeffrey likes women on the younger side, no doubt about it. Does the president, Barbara, need to answer the question about exactly what he knew and when?
Yes, I think it's very...
Like, he actually said it. He actually said like, stolen, like, used those words. Nah. That's why I said when he said Epstein likes them younger, I was like, younger could mean 18, 19, 20, but like of age? Or something else? Like, did he know they were underage? That is the question right there. You know, um, stolen from Mar-a-Lago. That is actually, I'm kind of shocked that he said this so openly.
Troubling the way President Trump has dealt with the victims and survivors in this case. The mere fact that he will not say and foreclose completely the idea of a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell is re-victimizing all of those victims.
Facts.
And now there's this additional information. And as a matter of law, legally, I don't suppose he has any obligation to answer any of these questions. But politically, I think that it is a fair question to ask, what on earth was he thinking if he knew that Jeffrey Epstein liked young women and was stealing some of them, including Virginia Giuffre? What did he think was going on? What did he think was happening with them? So I think it's an absolutely fair question, and it's about time someone advocated for the victims in this case. Too much concern has been made about Donald Trump's role, about Jeffrey Epstein's role, about whether Ghislaine Maxwell is a victim. My gosh, no. Let's talk about the real victims and survivors here, and I think that family does deserve answers.
Monica, that quote the family referenced when Trump said Epstein liked women on the younger side, when exactly did he say that, and what was the context?
Yes.
It was in a New York Magazine interview, an article that was focused on Jeffrey Epstein at the time, referring to him as this sort of international man of mystery because he was flying celebrities, people like former President Bill Clinton, on his jet to go on some different kinds of trips. And certainly he had developed a close relationship with Donald Trump. So in this profile, they reached out to people who were close to him, including then Donald Trump, of course, before he entered his political life. And he said that he felt that Jeffrey was a terrific guy. He really praised him. And then he did talk at length about his proclivity for beautiful women, as he put it, and that, yes, some of them were even on the younger side. So the president, before their falling out, had nothing but praise for Jeffrey Epstein in various different venues. And then you have sort of now some altering explanations, which is the one the president provided. But also there was this question of perhaps a real estate deal that went south that was also an issue that contributed to the two men not being as close as they once were, which we know they had socialized together, as you're seeing in that video, very repeatedly in the 90s and in the early 2000s, Anna.
Yeah, and let me read more of that quote from that 2002 New York Magazine article. The quote from Donald Trump at the time about Jeffrey Epstein: he's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life. Donald Trump told the magazine. That was in 2002, and then just this week.
Again, that, just trying to be fair here, that could mean a lot of things. I don't want to speculate, but knowing what we know, what really looks bad for Trump is the way he speaks about his daughter. That is creepy. That is creepy. I couldn't even imagine talking to, like, the stuff he said. It's one thing to say your daughter is beautiful, but to say hot, something totally different. But he also said I think Diddy's a good guy. Saying Epstein is terrific, being that, because I feel like what people can't escape is the fact that you can say, I didn't do none of that stuff, but I don't think you can say you didn't know about it. You know what I mean? So I feel like a lot of these people may have knew, maybe didn't participate, but they still hung out with him, knowing they could have been talking mess behind his back, whatever. But you ain't even supposed to be associating with those people after you find out. And now being in the position that you're in, and then to come out and actually say that you think she was stolen, that is crazy, man. I don't care which way you want to slice it. That is actually insane. This man just dry snitching on himself. But I feel like when they get in certain positions that they feel untouchable and invisible, like nothing is going to happen. So, you know, when he said, just grab them right in the, you know what, they be speaking how they normally speak. He's like essentially saying, yeah, he stole one of my young ones from me. That's what I'm taking that as.
Eli, we hear the president on Air Force One say, yeah, I think Virginia Giuffre was one of those stolen from my club. And of course, her family says this was in 2000 when all that went down. Is the president digging himself deeper every time he talks about this case?
Well, I don't know that he's helping himself, Anna. I think that, you know, the president has a playbook for dealing with these things. We've seen it over and over and over again, just dismissing them out of hand, saying it's a partisan Democratic hoax. And the problem here is that his own base does not believe that. They've been amped up about this for a long time. They want more information to come out. And if the president is going to say it's a hoax and it's all made up by Democrats, he's undermining that argument when he comes out and confirms details and expresses knowledge of certain Epstein victims, as Virginia Giuffre's family points out. It just doesn't make sense. And so the president's claims that this is a hoax, that he doesn't know anything about it, increasingly do strain credulity, simply because there is a long trail of statements and photographic evidence showing him in Epstein's orbit, around the time in the early aughts before they're falling out. And it does not seem that the president is being fully forthcoming, given that initially it was, I don't know anything, I'm not paying attention to it, and then speaking with knowledge of specific details, specific victims. And I think, we know that there is a lot of frustration in the White House about the story not going away, not being able to control the story. The president's comments are not helping in that regard, I think it's fair to say.
As we mentioned, Giuffre's family is also urging President Trump not to issue a pardon to Ghislaine Maxwell, calling her a monster, saying Virginia always said that Ghislaine Maxwell was vicious and could be even more cruel than Epstein. Eli, why hasn't the president ruled out a pardon? And what kind of impact could this letter have?
Great question.
Well, I don't know the answer to that, and I don't want to speculate about his motivations here. I think a more cynical read on this is that, he's not ruling this out because she could be someone who could help him suppress information, and that there might be an agreement there. That has been a theory that has gained some traction, especially among the president's detractors, among some legal analysts who wonder why else would the Justice Department be going down to meet with her. Right. It's a fair question. The president, all we know based on his public statements, he has maintained his personal right, his executive authority to issue pardons. I think we have to take the press secretary's statement to Monica at her word, for the moment, that he is not considering that. That's not under consideration. But I don't know why it would even be on the table, or why the president wouldn't have ruled that out himself, given the crimes that she has been convicted of and the reason that she's in prison.
Meantime, Barb, the Supreme Court has now set a date to consider whether it will review Maxwell's challenge to her 2021 conviction. That's going to take place on September 29th. What are you watching for there, and how might the justices be looking at all of this?
Yes, I think, Anna, that's a really interesting date, and in some ways it becomes a deadline. If you read her petition, I think it is a legal non-starter about her request for the court to toss her conviction. She says that the Southern District of Florida bound every prosecutor in the country when it entered into a non-prosecution agreement with Jeffrey Epstein that promised not to charge any of his co-conspirators. Of course, that is not binding on the Southern District of New York, and Ghislaine Maxwell was not a signatory to that document. And so legally, her argument fails. However, it can be spun, I think, as a fig leaf to give Trump some cover to say it would be unfair for her to be prosecuted after these promises were made in this document. And so it perhaps gives them room to negotiate a resolution where she comes clean, she tells the truth, she exonerates Donald Trump, I would say that in air quotes, And in exchange, they agree that the only just result here is to dismiss her case because of that agreement that was entered into those many years ago. I think that we should keep an eye out for that. And so what I want the public to know right now is how legally flimsy that argument is.
Great conversations they just had. They're thinking a lot of things I was thinking. Look, man, let me just say this, okay? And I always try to, for people who may be new to this channel, y'all know I started this channel off reacting to a lot of music, which I still enjoy listening to music and stuff. But like these, I know it's political at the end of the day, but for me, it's bigger than that. It's the good versus the evil. And I'm just saying, like, for a person as myself who hates politics because I know there's corruption on both sides, all right, to see people united, to see people wanting this the truth to come out, to see people seeing right through the BS is very, very, very heartwarming, because I keep saying that, like that the Virginia lady, didn't she get like hit by a bus first, and then they said whatever happened to her? Like, it's like, come on, man, come on. And for him to say that she was stolen, I don't know, man. I think a lot of people who don't see it are the people who are brainwashed. And when I say brainwashed, it's the people who feel like and this is on both sides, where when I say this, it's like they feel like a lot of these people can do no wrong. And I just feel like, because there's a lot of stuff going on with the tariffs. I see people posting on social media talking about like, oh, another win. He's posting these tariffs. And then, they talking about the hoax, and they're talking about this. And it's a lot of deflecting going on. A lot of deflecting. I'm telling you, when I post these videos, the way it works on YouTube is like you post a video and like immediately it's supposed to sit, and then something happens to where the video is supposed to go in the algorithm. And if in a matter of a certain amount of minutes or whatever, if it doesn't, your videos get put on the back shelf. Because I was wondering, like, these are some hot topics, like extremely important. But I feel like because it's uniting people, it's being suppressed, even for like when you look at these news outlet channels. I'm watching this on NSNBC, who has like 8 million subscribers, and the video is only at like 57,000 views. I can see right through it all. I truly can. I know what's happening, but I'm going to continue to do my best to cover it and try to give get the information, then give my input. That's all I can do right now. But I'm just saying, it seems like every time he talks, he's like telling on himself. But I don't know. I just feel like that's what he's comfortable doing, because he feel like nothing's going to happen, which is scary. But like, you have the person, Virginia's family, speaking out, like basically begging, like, please do not pardon this woman, because the whole Epstein situation where he supposedly took himself out, he's gone, so you can't do nothing there. A lot of times people be like, oh, you know, he was convicted. He's going to serve all this time in prison. The family feels like they get a win. They get some type of justice, you know, by him supposedly taking himself out. It's like the family can look at that and be like, oh my God, it was something deeper. And now you talking about like a pardon, saying like, I have the power to do that. That is a slap into the family's face by not shutting it down with a strong hell no. Man, this is bad. Stolen. Oh my goodness. Appreciate y'all coming over. Please like, share, and comment on this video, man. Peace out.